Uh, yeah, good evening, guys, and welcome to an episode of War of Excellent Conversations with obviously myself and Charlotte. But first things first, I want to introduce you to I want to introduce you to Charlotte. First, how you doing, Charlotte? And if you recovered have you recovered from the his successful study in the sky? Oh, it like after we finished on Friday night.
Yeah, no, it was. I've said to you before, people seem to like these streams, but even I was a bit taken back. So thank you to everybody. Also, because I've noticed Dan got some new subs, which is lovely. So thank you for all the support and how lovely everybody was in the chat for that stream as well.
I'm introducing my next is he put together he put the song together the golden as the as his problem being held down and he makes his debut in the channel none other than problem being held welcome how he and it's time so we get you on the channel tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for asking me on. About time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you would have moaned. I was about to say you would have moaned otherwise, so we thought we'd best give him.
I've only waited about a year.
Yeah.
You ask me almost every day now when you get on, so like I just thought to hell with
I want a piece of your success.
Yeah.
You got plenty, mate. You don't need any more.
So like to kick things off, how the hell did they manage to come up with such a brilliant song? Because me and Sha are kind of curious about it, to be honest with you. So how did you come up with this whole idea?
I'll tell you. Sleep, no. Coffee, yes. It was really. I'd had a sleepless night. It was daylight, morning, and I just got into bed. I'm feeling knackered, and I thought I saw that as Hill versus Babyface had a new video up. So I decided I'll put that on, and and then I'll just drift off, and I listened to it. And halfway through, he started singing this song, "Ocean Man." I was like, "Bing!" I was like, "I need to do this now!" And I sort of just got out of bed, just went to the computer, switched it on, and first of all, I had to work out how to download the video, how to get the audio, and chop it all up, and then put it through. And I spent the whole day and into the night, no sleep, lots of caffeine, and it just fell together in the space of a day and an evening. And I no idea. I don't know what happened. It's a blur. It was just, I need to do this. I need to do this now. And it just came out as it was, and then boom, and then I put it out on my SoundCloud, and it's had up to over 800 plays on there alone.
And half of them are myself, by the way.
Daniel obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Agent W, brilliant, thanks.
I get a bit obsessive with stuff I enjoy, as you imagine so half of those
I can relate to obsessive.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, and as well, and it kind of and it is kind of something, and it is kind of something that put a smile on everybody's face because, let's face it, 2021's been I as predicted. So
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
so like now you kind of put a smile on my
yeah.
face and like the video you put together is very well is very well put together and I like the way how you mentioned everybody that's kind of helped you on the and you've added in people's names at the end to dip it who you studied into it. And that, so that was a nice action and thanks very much for the mention and to be honest with you guys, if you haven't already listened to the song, I've put the YouTube video on his channel down in the description. But if you're on the move or wherever, I've also put the sound killer link down below as well because I really think I should check that out. And also as well the guys from Friday Night Tights on Ari's channel have also on their have also done their action on Friday Night Tights and I think myself and I think myself he has actually put up the kill up in your own channel of the action
Yes.
so it's so it's got a bit of so it's got a bit of so it's got a bit of attention and am I right in saying that you're thinking of putting it on putting it on iTunes and on
Yeah.
on Spotify as well and giving the proceeds to charity all this
Yeah, what's happening is we are we're I've just spoken to Az and he's decided what charity he wants it to go to. 75% of the charity 75% of the proceeds will go to charity. And a small fraction goes to me to keep the lights on because charity starts at home. But it was my idea to say I'll give 50% to any charity you want, and 25% to you, and he decided to give his 25% to that charity, so 75%. That's after cost and whatever the company that I'm releasing it through takes. So they take something like 15% or something, 9%, 15%. I can't remember. So after that. But the charity he's chosen is the Zack Snyder charity, which is the American Prevention of Suicide, I think it is. So it's a mental health charity, which is great because I thought it would be quite fitting if it was a mental health charity, especially during this time. And the content of the song Meltdown, I think it, and it did cheer a lot of people up. I read through all of the comments when on Az's upload of the video, and they made me laugh so much because I mean it's uplifted a lot of people, and it's been absolutely gratifying to see the response. It's been amazing. It's had 23,000 plays on Az's channel alone. It's fast becoming the biggest video on my channel. It's had, I think, something over like 500 plays on there. Yeah, and the video sort of fell together because obviously after the song, I thought, well, they can't really play it on YouTube because, you know, otherwise what you're going to do, you sort of bop in your head or something. So I thought, well, I need to make a video. So I approached Perry Chan, but he was busy because he, you know, has so much to do. He's, you know, he's a great guy. And I thought, what am I going to do? And then I discovered, thanks to someone on Twitter who showed me a clip of the song with a reface app thing that he did, and it was like, where'd you get that from? Like, you know, I thought deep fake is the way to go, and so he showed me, and then I downloaded the app, paid for it, and well, actually no, I had 3 days grace to play around with it for as much as I wanted for 3 days. So I took full advantage of that. I have millions of clips
you've done. Yes, you did.
Yeah, I've got a ton of clips I couldn't even begin to fit into the video. So I'm saving those for a rainy day. Who knows? And so I did the video. I made sure it was done in time for Friday night, just in case I could get it on Friday night. So I was a bit wily on that. And of course it was played at 3:30 in the morning. I was dead because I've been up already 2 days, I think, by that point, because I was getting the video edited up and everything. And I had to resync the clips from Az's original video to the audio. And bearing in mind I'd sort of time stretched and played around with the his original spoken word, so I had to kind of try and fit in as best I could the original video to the audio. And I did it in a format that it looked kind of like one of his streams, you know, but sort of glitched up a bit. And unfortunately it was sort of in 720, you know, HD rather than full HD, so I couldn't upscale it, at least not yet. I might do a remaster of it at some point, I don't know, but I mean, it's a lot of work. And I did it in a day and a night, and obviously it had a great response, and I'm really proud of it, and everyone seems to love it. People keep thinking it's Perry Chan. I have to keep telling him because I don't want him to get the blame. But no, it's been amazing. It's been great.
So obviously, as from heel versus babyface is involved in the project, my question is, how did he become did you kind of them out about it, or did they hear about it from the
it kind of, well, it came about on Twitter. I know he probably gets inundated with X amount of messages and, you know, being tagged in things, so it's very hard, and I understand it's very hard for someone like Az to notice anything, really. I mean, you know, he will be sort of inundated, but he does follow me back on Twitchats, and I managed, I think it was Lady Gravemaster actually, who managed to finally get him to notice. I think he'd seen it but didn't know what it was, because, you know, it's very hard. Like, if you post a picture, it's fine, people can see it. You post a song, no one hardly ever notices it, right? Because it's a link. It's not a YouTube link. It's not a picture link. It's a song link, and generally people don't touch those. So it's kind of hard that alone is really hard. I've noticed this before when I posted songs from SoundCloud. No one hardly ever listens to it, but if you post a link to YouTube, people might listen or watch it. Pictures obviously get the most attention, so that was really difficult alone. But when he cottoned on to what it was, he absolutely loved it. He did message me to say he was laughing his ass off and he loved it. Then I think the video was an added layer of surprise. And he just happened to really, really love it as well. And he asked me, you know, because I was premiering it on my channel, and he asked if he could, if I wanted to get more attention and upload it himself. So I sent him the video to upload, and he gave me 15 minutes grace to premiere it on my channel and then put it on his channel. And within one night, I think it got up to like 13,000. And then by Friday Night Tights, it stopped at like 13,130, whatever it was. So 1313, which is like, oh my god! And then YouTube just stopped it. Like it just didn't.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
How it kill stuff.
So I don't know if they've toyed around with the ratings on that, but it's, you know, it's gone up to. It seems to go up like 1,000 a day now. So people, I mean, I think it's had 4,000 plus likes. Yeah, it's had 4,000 plus likes. I think it's probably the same 4,000 people, you know, playing it over and over again. That's what they're saying in the comments.
I can't point. I'm going to point towards Daniel then.
Nope. I know. Yeah, it's confusing.
I know. That's a get away.
Right, here's the thing. It's amazing I'm even working tonight. Like, let's just be happy I'm working. Anybody who knows me in tech, I've done, with me and Daniel, it's been pretty good, like, sailing for me so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, me and
so but for us so before us getting any more questions, if you look at anything you would like to ask ask you about this or
maybe probably just to do with the video. Like, did you already have some like clips in your mind before you did the face stuff, or was it just you had a few and then it just was like a rabbit hole and you could, because there's so many clips in that video. I was thinking, did he like have some of this already in his head?
Those video clips that I actually used were about 1/8 or 1/16 of what I actually had. So like a lot was not used. Very difficult, and sometimes I'd get completely lost and I'd forget certain clips I wanted to use, and you know, after it was done I was like, damn, I wanted to put that in there and that in there and that, but you know, there's only so many minutes within the song, so I you know, unless I did a remix or a extended version or something, it's not very likely. But I mean, I did have a few that I definitely wanted to get in there more than anything else. And obviously, because his rant was about Batwoman, it had to have Batwoman in it. So I was nervous because with deepfake, it's really, I think, quite difficult if you've got anything obscuring the face, especially something like a mask. It doesn't work so well. But it really did work really well, actually. So I was quite surprised and pleased because it meant I could use it. I mean, if I could have done it all Batwoman, I mean, I'm very limited to what the app has clip-wise on there. And you can't, I tried to get another app where you could use any clip from any YouTube video and put it in, but it didn't work. So I had to get a refund on that. And there was a brilliant one with this sort of plus-size chap in heels doing dancing.
Oh, okay. I can see how that
and I really wanted that. I really wanted, because I know that they played it on Friday Night Tights before, but it didn't work. So unfortunately, I had to make do without that one. But yeah, I mean, God, I mean, there's some people kept saying it reminded them of the Chris Cunningham video for Aphex Twin, and I did actually have a scene from one of the Aphex Twin videos, because I don't know if you know, but Aphex Twin would put his face on characters. Like, you know, there was one for a video called Come to Daddy, and it's got like all these school children, like boys and girls, running around with his face with a beard on and grinning, and it's really freaky. So there was that kind of element, but I thought maybe that was a bit too on the nose to do that. But a lot of people made reference to it.
And I do agree with on from the whole books in the chat. As with this piece of art, and you should actually be proud of it, and can give congratulations on the success, because to be honest, if you do all the animations or or a few channels, and like, I don't think that you get the edit you deserve, and it pisses me off, to be honest. So so I'm happy so I'm happy that so I'm happy that this is fine, um this is fine, and we get me the recognition you deserve. You deserve, because you put a lot of effort into all your animations.
Well, I think Noel from the TARDIS Zone does an awful lot to promote what I do, and gives me a shout out. And he, you know, bless him, he plays like all of the trailers when he only needs to play the one. And I just think, wow, you know, that makes me happy. So that's, you know, fine. He goes to great lengths to give me a shout out, which is appreciated. And, you know, just the fact that so many people, I mean, if you just read the comments on Hill versus Babyface's upload of the song video, it's just, they are so funny, and they cheer me up. So I've cheered them up, you know, in this terrible time, and so that's priceless. I mean, that's absolutely wonderful, and it's worth it, that alone, really. And the comments are just so witty and funny, and I was just laughing my ass off, because it was just so ludicrous, some of the things people were saying. It's just brilliant. And that's gratifying.
And you can kind of see the effort you put in, though, because that must have been an absolute itch to put
it really was, because I had to green screen things out. Yeah, I believe you me, there were multiple times I could have thrown my computer through the wall, you know. It was just like, why is it doing what I want it to do? And look, you know, after a sleepless day and night again, and then hurling this thing together, there are obviously mistakes in there that, if I spotted before I put it out there, I would have changed. And, you know, if I can go back and redo it, I might at some point. I don't know. But I mean, it's sloppy as fuck. But hey, a lot of comments were that it was reminiscent of like 2005 YouTube, right? Which was when it was fun and, you know, and all the rest of it. And so I kind of don't mind it. Look, it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be full HD or 4K. You know, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that sloppy kind of slap together thing. And it's, you know, I'm not trying to hide what it is. I'm not trying to say, hey, this is my own genius work. You know, I spent thousands of hours, deep faking this, and no, I just shoved it all through an app and selected the best bits I could find and stitch it together, and haphazard, and it is what it is. And I did the text on iMovie, so it is homemade, if you like.
That's the appeal, because it's such an
it's not
oddity.
pretentious.
Yeah, no, but it's such an oddity, and it's like, I think that's, and like, as he's very, I think that's why a lot of us love his videos, because he's not finesse. He'll admit this. He's sort of.
I wanted to keep that. Yeah, I wanted to keep it to that kind of ethos, and that's why I had it's set up like one of his streams. So you've got his reactions in the corner there, and the thing on there, and sort of put it into a trippy nightmare scenario, and use a lot of memes, and rickrolled the audience, and stuff like that. Sort of jokes in there. And there's like, if you put it at like slow speed, if you change the speed, you can actually spot a lot more things than otherwise you wouldn't. So there's like subliminal messaging there and stuff like that. So it's just a bit of fun, and I think people need a bit of fun.
Yeah, I mean, when that kind of, I've started to bring a few more people onto my channel recently. Well, just to kind of cheer everybody up, because because this is a shit time right now, or as all, and I think anything that says a bit of joy right now, a bit of joy now is what everybody eats and eats, but because eventually become pretty they eventually became pretty popular within the streaming community, because you've been on the Revolution of the Hurricane stream. You're a regular or in the parties on
well, Noel says I'm part of the Illuminati, so that's
that all makes sense now.
Love you too, man.
And to be honest, if you arts and pop culture and all of that just are on, to be honest, if you like you do still joy like to listen to trying at the majority of the streams that you're on, and I've really enjoyed listening to your points of view, and even as on and extras and extras extras as it when you and is also a very catchy song as well. You've had a history and you've had a history of putting together some catchy music.
Well, that's about 11 years old.
As so you're a man of many talents, and even the kind of robotic video you done for that is absolutely
Oh, I
Is
can't
that
claim. I can't claim. I can't claim that video.
Yeah.
That video was done by someone else. But I mean, it certainly was something that made me think, even back then, a number of years ago, that I would like to be able to do something like that myself. And it's only in the recent, well, since the lockdown, really, that I started to learn, to touch upon that. But it's I'm sort of a long way from getting there, because I mean, I throw things together, but I can't claim I'm an expert modeler. I'd love to get more in depth with that, to make robots and things like the Electro is Dead video, which is fantastic job there by a mate who did it for free. He believed in the band and at the time, and but it's a long time ago, mate. It's a long time ago. So I mean, I still do the odd bit of music. I did the few theme tunes. I did the Doctor Who theme tune for Rabbi with mixing Hava Nagala, Hava, whatever it is, Hava Nagala.
That is awesome.
Theme
yeah.
And of course Noel's theme, which was originally done for Tharies, but that transpired.
That's not. That's not enough. That's not an avenue of a conversation I want to touch with a barge. To be honest with you,
well, I'll tell you what. You say you like what I have to say. Well, I have to say that it's really the community I find myself in, where you guys, Daniel and Charlotte, you always manage to find unique points of views that make me think, and it's great. I think it's wonderful that we have this kind of dialogue, and that we have a space to go where we can sort of vent and express ourselves. And I think it's important. I think it's incumbent upon people to speak their minds. I think in an age where people get cancelled just simply for speaking their mind needs to be met with fierce resistance. We are the resistance, not them.
Because I'll give you an example of that. Like one of my favourite was in regards to Doctor Who, is actually RFM of us, and because as you know that I've actually chatted about on the channel a couple of times. I'm a massive fan of the Sarah Jane adventures, and he wrote half of those episodes. So like as well, the idea itself want to say I and some only end up cancelling my favourites, but I know off it all time just because a guy has a different opinion. I'm sorry, I'm not going to let that happen, because I've said before on this channel how much that's enough has actually to me personally, just because just because a certain minority miserable bastards doesn't mean the rest didn't have to be. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's the Harry Potter thing, isn't it? I mean, you've got a bunch of entitled millennials or zillennials, whatever they're called nowadays, who want their Harry Potter, but they don't want the J.K. Rowling. And it's like, can we have Harry Potter without paying J.K. Rowling? And it's like, no, you can't. And it's the same with Sarah Jane Adventures and Gareth Roberts. You can't look. I make it very clear. You've got to be able to separate the art from the artist. You may not like what he said. You may not like him as a person or perceived person that you think he is. But at the same time, do you enjoy the work and bearing in mind, it's he's the writer, he's not the producer, he's not the actors, he's not the musicians, he's not all these other people who spent time and effort and love and joy and professionality into creating something which touched a lot of people, and you can't cancel all of that work because you don't like the opinions of one person.
But I think it's even more insidious though when it's like, okay, you can't get enjoyment anymore from this. That's your choice. You can do you. But when you then attack other people who still get enjoyment, who might not know, because that's another thing. There's a lot of, we sort of say normies, but I see them as more as people who don't live on the internet, who don't really pay attention to stuff. They just watch a show, or they
get vilified.
They don't look behind the curtain, to put it in that kind of phrase.
Well, even if they did look behind the curtain, so what? Look, either you enjoy it or you don't. And if you're honest about enjoying it, then just enjoy it.
Yeah, but
if it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, that's your lookout. I'm sorry that you feel restrained by pressure from peers who say the person who wrote it is evil and blah blah blah. That's your lookout. But again, that, as you were saying, as you're alluding to, if you don't like it, don't ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah, that's my big thing.
Yeah, and it makes me absolutely furious that these people dictate what other people can or cannot watch because of their pressure, their activism, and I think it clouds their judgment. It's fury for fury's sake, and what they're doing is authoritarian. It's anti-liberal, illiberal. It's very illiberal, and what it does is it acts as a modern day book burning, which we have to be guarded about because we've seen this happen throughout history. The people who think they're on the right side of history go around destroying it, and it's like, you're not the guardians of this stuff. And for me, they've for a lot of people, these very vocal minorities have ruined the tweet-alongs for a lot of people, because now there are going to be no more official ones because of that. Because of what they did, because they reacted, as usual, reactionists, ruined it for everyone else. And I don't agree with that. You can't do that. That's not right.
Yeah, but I don't think it was like, it's not. I would have understood it a bit more if it would have been a bit like the other official ones, when Gareth would have written something extra or would have done something in connection to it, but he had nothing to do with it.
No, and they made sure of that as well.
Yeah, but it's that added thing, and it's like it's like you were talking about, and we talked about on the stream. Also, the episode that they all had the fit about, there was nothing political. It was the most fluffy, the most fun episode. And I pointed it out to Daniel. I was like, what I didn't understand, and this is just a general point, I was like, but guys, you all watch Shakespeare Code as part of the watch-alongs.
Yeah.
You all watched the Gareth Roberts episode, and nobody said anything. But lo and behold, they do another Gareth Roberts episode, which I think we argued this as well, is less known for him. Like Shakespeare, I would say, is a more well-known Gareth episode. And you didn't come across that.
Shakespeare Code is the more well-known.
But you did
episode, and never all right. But like, I just hate that this whole hypocrisy and fandom. Do you know what I mean? It's starting to piss me off. That like another.
Well, I've colonised it. These so-called fans who've been around the scene for like 5 minutes are dictating terms for everybody, and it's like this sense of entitlement has got to stop. Look, if you don't like something, you don't like it, leave it to others who do. They go to great lengths to tell us to stop complaining about the current era of Doctor Who, and yet when they do it and they try and show their displeasure about a specific episode because of the writer and all the rest of it, like we do, that's fine. Apparently, that's justified. So it's funny how their justification always seems to benefit them, but to the detriment of everyone else. At least when we complain about the current era of Doctor Who, we're not trying to tell other people not to watch it.
Yeah. We'll go back to your many towers for a bit because you've been an extra on some of the biggest and some of the biggest cinema franchises such as Star Wars and Harry Potter, which I think is a big pile of shite, to be honest.
I'm not a fan.
Oh, I feel so like by myself. I love those books, and you can't take that away from me.
Well, you're of that age, so I can completely understand that. Listen, as a kid, I used to love certain things, and now that's how I got into Doctor Who. That was my thing back in the day, and everyone has a thing which is at its peak culturally, and people latch onto that in their youth, and that's a normal thing. I mean, I'm one of the last faces you actually see of the entire Harry Potter franchise. You've got like platform 9 3/4, got the main cast lined up, and then there's my head poking out the side there. Fade to black. But I did it for 8 years, the whole film extra work and stuff like that.
And to get everything and to get everything to that website, Emma. Oh, because I heard
here we go.
Dig dirt.
Yeah, because I've heard Emma, I should heard some stories that she's killed upper elf and pretty difficult and pretty difficult to do to do stuff on it. So have you had any awesome of her?
How do I say all this? Hey,
well, in the spot now.
What can I tell you? I have signed NDAs, meaning non-disclosure. So, well, it's interesting. Apparently, that she's announced she's retiring from acting. I would probably surmise it's because no one wants to work with her. There was a moment on set where she walked on set and she was looking at us like she discovered shit on a hotel towel. And I turned around to one of the extras and I said, "She always like that." I've been on this on set since the beginning of filming. Every day is like this. So I mean, I could tell you more, but maybe off air.
Yeah, you don't get in trouble.
But very listen. Some stars are. Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say some stars are like that, very odd people, but 50-50, like everything else. Some of them are just really great people. Really nice, and I mean, I have to say, Ginger and Four Eyes, they were they were brilliant. They were fantastic on set. They were really, really nice people, and you could see them. They were running around and playing around and being kids themselves. And people on the set were very impressed. I think with their sort of light-hearted nature, I think they were great.
Well, it's sort of American, isn't it? And I think they've all said this in interviews, because I'll say this: I can't stand Emma Watson for multiple reasons. One of them notwithstanding, she was a terrible Belle, and I adored that original Disney movie. But it's sort of been American, and they've all said this, that they were kid stars, weren't they? Like, they were child stars. And I don't think Emma's even, like, there's not been any really bad stories about them. Like, they've not gone off the rails. But she has in her own way, but the other two sort of have.
And that's how she's now ambassador for all women, and and she was self-partnering or something. Okay. Okay, that's a little bit too much information.
Let's just say she's the reason why people say to me, "Oh, you're a feminist, right?" I go, "Never call me that again."
Listen, I think 8%. I think there was a survey done, and I think in the UK anyway, it came out that 8% of women identified as being a feminist. 8%. And think about how much we see online and how much we're shown on TV and films and everywhere. And it's like, you'd imagine that 99.9% of women identify as feminists, but it's not true. And listen, I agree with a number of feminist points of view. Well, again, I suppose it depends on which wave it is. Like the third wave. No, because that's intersectional feminism. That's that kind of grating Jodie Whittaker level stuff. But generally the second wave, first wave, second wave. Listen, it's of its time. If you look back at the feminist movement, the women's lib as it was then. They burned the bra and they wore mini skirts, and owned their sexuality and their sex, and good on them. Now the sanctimony of the current age of feminism is frowns upon that and think it's for the male gaze, and it's like, well, make up your bloody minds. But there's a massive divide in feminism today. You've got the second wave or fourth wave, depending on your view, attacking the third wave intersectionalists, because one is like women are biological women, and the intersectional one is like, no, trans women are real women, and cis women are womb carriers or whatever they call it, or chest feed. Just so they're fighting amongst themselves, and this is the politicalization of sex and gender, and hopefully eventually when all of this settles down, we can go back to some sense of normality, or whatever normal was before that. But it's not my battle. I can only form an opinion, and I will form opinions, but they are my opinions, and everyone has a right to speak their mind. As I say, you might not like what I have to say. I have strong views on abortion, but I don't dictate to other people or women what they can do with their bodies. But if you ask me my opinion, I'm not pro-abortion. I think yes, in certain cases, but I don't think it should be generally accepted. Listen, I'm not a religious person, so I don't have they can't levy that at me, because that's not the case. But I think it's important that, of course, women have the right to their own bodies, but of course, you need also to have responsibility as well to your own body and to society and to the child in your body. But I don't expect everyone to agree with me or to change the world to fit around my views, because that's where bigotry lies. But if you want my honest opinion, that's how I feel about the subject. So that's just an example. But as for feminism, as I said, I agree with a lot of its tenets, but not all of them. And I'm pro men's rights as well. That's another thing that gets maligned as a right wing, far right, blah blah blah, nonsense. If you watch the documentary The Red Pill, which I urge everyone to watch, it's fantastic. It's a feminist filmmaker went and wanted to infiltrate the men's rights movement and expose it. Right. By the end of it, she decided she was no longer a feminist.
Oh no, and here's the problem. And this is why I'll always say, I'm not part of that, and that's because there's this like strain, and I agree with you. It's the third wave. It's this strain in it of you have to hate males, and I'm just like, how are we gonna get anywhere? How are we going to coexist or do anything in this world if on premise you hate another group like that?
Well, it's the oldest trick in the book, isn't it? Divide and rule. And I think this is the problem with group politics and group identity and all this nonsense, because groups are a grammatical fiction. Groups do not exist. If you take a company to court, right? A company is a corporation, right? A body of people. If you take a company to court, you don't sue the company. You sue someone in the company. You have to have someone named who is responsible, right? It's not the whole company. It's the person in charge of that company, right? So it's a myth. It's a fiction. This is why I have a massive problem with this, and that this is where divisions happen within society. And the best way to avoid it is to acknowledge that individuals exist, right? And not everyone is the same. So, you know, a group cannot speak for an individual, but an individual can speak for a group of people, but they can't take responsibility for all of those people, right? You can say, well, I am a woman, I can speak for women in my own voice, but you can't speak for all of those women. If you know what I mean? It's a very nuanced thing. And I think a lot of people seem to think they can speak for everyone. Yes, you can, but you can't claim responsibility for those people either. So, you know, it's just blows my mind that people fall into this trap. You know,
it's easy. I honestly think some of it's so easy.
But it doesn't require much thought, does it? I mean, you're literally given your belief system off the peg, right? And that's what feminism or LGBT or whatever group that you identify to belong as, you know, it's all handed to you. This is the set of rules that you must believe. This is the language you must use. These are the pronouns you must use. This is the names you must. And it's weird to me as well, because if you look on Twitter, you look at a lot of these radical feminists who say that, you know, male children should be killed at birth and things like that. That actually exists, right? People actually believe that. And that must be combated, you know. Common sense is not so common, but we should try and at least make it a bit more common than it already isn't. So I would like more dialogue, and any ideology or any belief system that dictates to you that the conversation is over or the debate is over is being disingenuous, to say the least. I think we, as a society, need to be incumbent with this understanding that if someone's coming to you and saying you can't talk about this because you are this, that, or the other identity group, like let's say straight white male or something like that, you know, the lowest of the hierarchy, the new hierarchy of power, then you must say, fuck you, I will speak my mind, and if you know, you can choose to listen or not, but I will speak anyway, you know. And this kind of cancel culture thing's going on, where the people are saying you can't say this because it's bigoted. That is by its definition bigoted, right? If you're trying to oppress someone's right to speak, you are the bigot. And I think people need to understand. And listen, as someone who's experienced homophobia myself during the 80s and 90s, that kind of shit doesn't fly with me currently, because I don't see anywhere near as much of those abuses as it was then as it is now. And people always looking for microaggressions, looking to be offended, looking for that. It doesn't exist. But you're making the problem worse for yourselves by being so aggressive. And once you start alienating the wider society, you're not helping your situation. You're actually creating division. You're actually creating homophobia where it didn't exist, because you're driving people nuts, right? You can't keep dictating to people what they can say or what they can't believe, you know, nonsense. And I would much rather someone was openly homophobic than hiding it. Let's say I went into a shop, you know, and said I wanted them to bake a gay cake for me, right? Knowing that they wouldn't. I mean, that's entrapment, right? That's entrapment. So you go to a Christian baker and say, I want a cake with a giant cock on it, right? And knowing that they're going to have a problem with that, you are deliberately doing that. And I find that incredibly disingenuous. That's wrong. And you've got to be tolerant of people who are intolerant of you. I'm sorry, you have to, because that's how society is. And listen, I'm friends with Father Christopher Miller. I'm friends with the rabbi. I'm friends with, religious people. I'm friends with people on the left, friends on the right, friends. I don't care. I treat you as an individual. You treat me as an individual. And there's a mutual respect there. You may not agree in everything. They may not like my lifestyle. I may disagree with them theologically. Doesn't matter. I see them on an individual human level, first and foremost. And if someone is openly homophobic, if they don't want to make that cake for me, I walk away and go to someone who will. I'd much rather know who I'm giving my money to. Like, I can make that choice. If you force people into the underground, you're not only hiding the fact that they might be homophobic or racist or whatever, but you're also creating a situation where you're actually deepening in that problem. And it's not helping me, it's not helping anyone. And I'm giving them money without them knowing. That I'd much rather keep it out in the open, know where the fuckers are, and then you can avoid them and go somewhere else. As simple as that. That's plenty of space for everybody.
Or in your case, getting a fight in the bathroom with them.
Yeah.
Or that.
Because you told us that as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because because you've gone on because you've gone on talking about, so we told someone of us about your experiences like that, because there seems to be there seems to be a mentality from for, for, that for that community the basic the basic we've forgotten that they've had to fight for and everything, and they start attacking their own men, and they start attacking our own and our own and our own also that community, because you've been on there, see, even into it yourself, and even you've been called homophobic.
Yeah, I've been called all kinds of things. I've been called a white supremacist, even though I have Jewish ancestry. Half my family lineage were wiped out in Auschwitz. So that's laughable. I've been called a homophobe, even though I like men. I've been called a transphobe, even though I went through a friend's experience who was trans, who went through the whole fucking process, came out as trans, went through the trans thing, had their genitals removed, went through the regret and detransitioned, right? I've seen the whole process from fucking start to finish over a number of years. I put that person up in my home twice. And it was very difficult. And I've seen that happen. And this person was in their 50s. Now, if you're angling at allowing children as young as 3 or 4 years old to go through this, I think you are crazy. And I don't think you're fully cognizant of the potential for so much physical and mental damage that can happen. I'm not saying it will, but could happen. And that's a risk. Are you actually, as a parent, for example, going to accept that risk is very real? And anyone who tries to suppress that discussion is extremely dangerous. And I would urge parents who are facing this sort of issue to really consider and to investigate everything thoroughly. Listen, I'm not denying trans people exist. Of course they do. And they should have every right, every dignity as everyone else. But you need to be sure. You can't project that child necessarily will be, trans. And, there's divisions within the trans community as well. You got the transsexuals, you got transgender. Transgender is a new term compared to transsexual, which has been around for many, many years. And transsexuals who understand that they are themselves not women, but want to live as women, are called true scum by the transgender community. And again, I use the word community loosely. There is no such thing as a community, right? It's an action group, right? Let's be very clear. And that's the same through any groups of people who use activism and call it a community. It's not a community. It's an activist pressure group. And it's only a community when they want something. And that goes for gay people, people of color, whatever. So, and again, it's this kind of minority voice which claims to speak for the vast majority of those groups that they identify with. A lot of people who are, Black, Asian, Inuit, whatever, or gay, trans, whatever, who simply do not wish people to speak for them. As a group, they don't identify as a group. They identify as themselves, as individuals, and they want to be treated as such. But they're denied that right. And if they speak out against the group mentality, they are often excised, banned, suspended off Twitter, denied their own voice. I've seen this happen multiple times. It's happened to me. It's happened to a trans friend of mine. And I find that deeply worrying because it's denying the individual at the cost of the group. And when the group and the group that speaks for the vast group is a minority within that group, and that can't be right. I'm sorry, no.
I was sort of saying I've said a few times on the stream, like and I've talked more to do with fandoms, but obviously this can apply to other things. But it's just obviously in fandom, it's not as much of a serious issue in that regard. But it's this idea of we're not monoliths. Like everybody, yes, people share some views or traits or whatever you want to put in that. But even if you share 90% of something with somebody, whether that's views or upbringing or whatever you want to put in that, there's still that 10% or even more that you will disagree with somebody with.
I see it like this, right? You look at your thumb. That thumbprint that you have is unique in the universe. That is your thumb. So imagine, right, you yourself are a thumbprint of your own in a world of over 6 billion, 7 billion people. You are truly unique. And it will take thousands of years before your RNA will reappear as a direct carbon copy of you in the future. Right? Eventually that can happen, right? If given an infinite number of rebuilds, all right, your RNA goes up. But you alone in this current period of time are completely unique. No one can speak for you. Yes, you may share X amount of immutable characteristics with your peer group, but it does not define you. What defines you is your character, your actions, your deeds, your loves, your loathes, your various discourses and how you move through this world. So you have an individual effect on this world. And when some narcissistic minority of people claim to speak for you, you have to question them. You have to question, well, what gives you authority over me? Why do you feel that you can speak for me and deny me my own voice if I dissent? Now, dissent is the most incredibly important thing we have. And if people deny dissent, they are becoming the very fascists that they claim to hate. And I think it's important that people use dissent to put across their individual point of view. And it's worrying because on Twitter, I've seen this before. My friend once showed me a tweet that someone said to them from a communist, of course. They said the cult of the now listen to this carefully. The cult of the individual is over. Let that sink in. Let that just sink in for a bit. The cult of the individual is over. Now, that sounds like cult talk to me. How can you be a cult of one person?
Yeah.
Right? That's insane. But people believe this. And they're on Twitter now, you know, partaking in this. And I've come across this before when I infiltrated this communist group on Twitter. And they literally were all saying the same thing. Like, it was so bizarre. They would reply saying the same thing like a mantra. It was freaky as fuck. And, you know, you got to be guarded against this. And they've repackaged Marxism now. And I used to be a socialist, right? I mean, up to quite recently, actually, you know, up to the Jeremy Corbyn era. And then I found out about his anti-Semitism. That, you know, that was it for me. And then when all the group identity politics started up, I was like, whoa, this is fucking crazy. This is insane. This is nothing to do with what I perceived the left to be. The left always used to fight for fair play and liberalism and the right to speak your mind and individuality and all that kind of out the window overnight in 2016. Boom, gone. And that was a wake-up call for me. And now I'm politically homeless. You know, I've only ever voted Labour. I voted Lib Dems once. That was a mistake. And last time I voted Tory. First time ever. Probably the last time. Because I voted for Brexit. Because I wanted to get away from authoritarian centralised power. And accountability. I believe in accountability. I believe in democracy. Not the best system in the world, but it's the best we've got. And I was to hell with you know, the New World Order, which I believe that the European Union is, because if you look at people who were promoting a unified Europe back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they were people like the far right, funnily enough. You had what's his name? Crikey. Hold on. Fascists.
You always know history's gonna be fun.
Yeah, Oswald Mosley, right? Him and his wife were very pro-United States of Europe. And if you look at the Yazidis, the first president of the then what was it, EEC, or, you know, the market, brain's dead. He was a former Yahtzee, but they had a continuation of power. The thing is, the Yazidis actually created the concept, if they were to win or lose the war, that they had plans in place to create a united Europe where Germany would be the hegemony. And you look at the EU today, that's exactly what you've got, right? And you can look this up. I mean, it's the historical records are there. They're not denied. They're not, you know, I mean, it's there, you know. Yeah, so I mean, it's undeniable. And, you know, people just need to actually look. Yes, it, you know, it has this neoliberal thing, but that's a weird thing. And how many black MEPs are there? One that we sent from Britain was a black MEP. He went there, he walked in dressed casually, and he was asked to leave the building. He was asked to leave the building. They didn't know he was an MEP. And that's how racist they are over there. They're all white. If you want to look at white supremacy, the EU is it, frankly. And you know, they dress it up as liberalism, but it's not.
I was also a bit Sasha, only ask you about John Barrowman's latest comments about about casting a transgender for Turbo Joe.
The Doctor's already transgender. They've made sure of it.
Yeah.
That's what Jodie Whittaker's portrayal is. The Doctor literally changed sex. What more do you want? She's got the fucking rainbow flag on her chest, you know.
And also her outfit.
Yeah, I mean it's androgynous, right? I mean
it's androgynous. It's completely
exactly.
I've always said, like, if you're going to do female Doctor, then why do like a timid half approach almost? I feel like they've done with 13.
It was a safe thing. Well, I say safe. I mean, it clearly wasn't, but I think they thought it was.
But if you've got to think about the timing, and I think that's.
Well, she's kind of a tomboy, isn't she?
Well,
I look at Missy. I look at Missy. I think that was the template they should have gone with.
Yeah.
Gone for the full Victorian crazy lady. Look, I've always said that my fan idea would be like during the fall of the Doctor. Yeah, like I mean, when she's saying goodbye to the Doctor and she grabs him by the hand and then she looks down, he looks down. I thought she was handing him something. And what that could have been a pocket watch. And knowing she was going to meet her doom, stabbing herself in the back, and the Doctor might not survive, so giving him her regeneration energy, maybe. So then she goes off, she gets killed. The Doctor gets killed by the Cybermen at the end. He goes into the TARDIS and regenerates from her pocket watch because he can't regenerate, she can't regenerate, but the regeneration energy is there. And then she merges with the Doctor, and so you end up with Michelle Gomez being the new Doctor, but having this kind of split personality, like half Master or half Doctor. That could have been really interesting, I think. You know, just a thought, but you know.
Well, that's what I've sort of spitballed a few ideas about, like for story reasons, because whatever anything's done, I'll always go back to that for me. And I was like spitballing story reasons, and I was like, well, maybe because the Doctor wasn't. Let's be honest, he was. My idea is sort of a bit different to that. Is it's not a wrong regeneration, but if you look at how Capaldi kept putting off that regeneration in the final episode, and how traumatic an experience it was, maybe the fact that he put it off meant there was this sort of moment that they didn't have control. Or the one that's a bit easier to do is it's sort of been said, hasn't it, a bit in New Who, that the Doctor has that bit of control over regeneration.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think.
Well, I think if they would have done this, it would have at least justified it, and they could have said, using your idea of Missy, have that because the Doctor's last thoughts could have been, I almost got Missy to be good. I almost got finally the Master to be a friend again.
And then you continued the arc of both the Doctor and Missy getting to that point where she does become good through the Doctor by being the Doctor. And
by my idea, just being a female Doctor. That's and I honestly thought that's what they were almost going to do. Because if you think, like I said, the little bits that were left in that, maybe Moffat did have that idea, just Chibs didn't carry it through. I don't know.
Well, he's an idiot, so I mean, what do you expect? But I mean, when she came out the TARDIS and said, "Hello, I'm Doctor Who," I believed her. You know, I thought, yes, I can see that, and that I think it was done obviously on purpose to prepare us. But listen, I was open-minded to it, but now I've seen what has been done with the character. It's now cemented in my mind that the Doctor is fundamentally a male character, and I don't think there's any problem with that whatsoever. I think the Moffat retcon of Time Lords being able to change their gender or sex, whichever. I'm not entirely sure. It was a bad idea. I think it undermines characters like Romana, the Rani, the Master. I mean, it kind of worked with the Master as a disguise. Master of disguise.
And but I do kind of agree. I'm a really agree with you, but I think Stephen Moffat was kind of interrupted to that, and there's like a on purpose, and state type thing, because it was right around to the time on purpose were beginning to get a stir angle on the BBC, because it was getting creation or about the agenda rather than the actual story.
Well, this is it. This is it, because Common Purpose is a secretive charitable organisation. They don't publish any minutes. They've infiltrated a lot of the institutions within the UK and I think globally, and especially the BBC. And I remember trying to find out if Chibnall or Piers Wenger were a part of this organisation, and I did find on a Google search, which has since disappeared, by the way, as did the tweet. But there was a tweet from Common Purpose to Chris Chibnall congratulating him on some award that he'd won. I clicked the link, and the tweet wasn't there. And now the Google search for that tweet isn't there either. Very interesting. But yeah, Common Purpose. If you look them up, there is, they've infiltrated every aspect of the institutions, from BBC through the police, through the fire services, through ambulance services, through Houses of Commons, all of it, right? So that, you've heard about the long march through the institutions of these sort of Marxist organizations. They're very clever now. They've rebranded themselves as postmodernists, because they realized that the class war wasn't working for them, so they decided to go for the intersectional route through all this philosophies of Derrida and Foucault and Lyotard, these very white, very dead, very pale, very stale males from the 1960s from France, who created these critical theories. So really, and they were former Marxists. So what they created really was not postmodernism; it was post-Marxism. So they're very clever how they've managed to rebrand themselves and march through all the institutions, especially through academia. And of course, what Common Purpose do is they train people, train inverted commas, i.e. brainwash people, and put them into positions of power and influence. Yeah, so that's what happened with the BBC. I would not be surprised at all if people like Piers Wenger or Chris Chibnall or indeed the new head of the BBC, whatever his name is again, I've forgotten. Tim Davey.
I mean, he's all. Basically, he's just like the rest of it. He's just like
he was the great hope,
and and I'm sorry, like I know, like from artists and so on, and like a few other people that and are holding out hope that one day or who'll get better. In my opinion, Doctor Who ever recover, and that show gets cancelled, it's not going to come back.
Well, yeah, that's it. You've got a culture.
I think it gets cancelled. I think it's cancelled again. It's game over. But get back in and make a point.
Well, I think that, you know, I mean, I can't say for certain that, you know, Tim Davie and these people that I've mentioned are members of Common Purpose. I just say that I wouldn't be surprised if they were. The thing is, you've got a culture within the BBC that's been infiltrated by Common Purpose. I mean, there's websites exposing this. I can't vouch for its veracity, but it does speak to me. So there is definitely an element there, and if it's not them, it's certainly other groups that have infiltrated, and that's for certain. If you look at the modus operandi of diversity and inclusion training within certain organizations, they don't happen by just normal contract, right? And usually it happens through through pressure, through threat, or through coercion, or through blackmail. And I learned about this from my trans friend, who told me in no uncertain terms, because they had information through networks there, that they go into these places and they say, you need to do this kind of training. It's going to cost you 80 grand and sign up, please. And the answer would normally be, well, thank you very much. We'll do that in-house. Thank you very much. Show out the door, right? And they'll be like, no, this diversity and inclusion training you will take for £80,000, or else we will go on Twitter and we will ruin you.
Yeah, or
I slept with you last week. I got the photos. You will take this training, and that happens. That does happen, right? I guarantee it. Listen, I'm not saying that's what's going on at the BBC, but I wouldn't be surprised. Now, listen, I can't vouch for that. This is my opinion. This is based on information that I was given by someone who was privy to that kind of information. He'd seen it for themselves. And a lot of these so-called communities keep their own people in check by using what we call struggle sessions, right? So if you're thinking or having doubts, you know, because usually it's about affirmation. If you have any doubts, they will sit you in a group of peers and they will tell you why they think you're wrong. We've seen it happen with Gina Carano in her interview, where she was told that she would have to sit down on a Zoom meeting with 40 people from the LGBT community on a Zoom call, telling her why she is wrong. Right? That was mentioned in that interview. This is how Common Purpose, I believe, deal with things. I'm not saying that they do, but certainly that's the modus operandi of a lot of these diversity and inclusion training franchises. So that's a culture that goes on behind the backs, you know, behind the back door, behind the curtain, if you like. And more people need to be made aware of that kind of shit. Gina Carano did a fantastic job of exposing that at Disney, Lucasfilm. But this, I believe, to be very commonplace, actually. And the more people talk about it, the better.
Yeah, and I think that leads to another thing that we've seen a lot in fandoms right now, is a lot of pretending to be virtuous. A lot of pretending
to be like that happens every day.
Well, it's there to deflect from them, because anything that they've tweeted in the past, anything that they've said, again, coercion and blackmail is very commonplace. So by acting all virtuous, you're saying, don't look at me, look at how wonderful we are as a group, right? We support all of this stuff, but really they're just going, well, you know, I've said or done shit, and they've got this over me. If I don't comply, they're going to release it all. And then, you know, it's a deflection. Listen, the only reason this has gotten away with itself so much in Hollywood, and because we know Hollywood is a cesspool, and the BBC, we know that that's a cesspool. So the reason why these things are allowed to run away absolutely unhindered is because there's a shit ton of fucking crap against a lot of people within these groups and organizations and corporations. So rather than having themselves exposed, they comply, they bend the knee, and then, you know, they get a pass. It's very, very, very insidious. I believe that this is the culture. I believe this is the reason why Hollywood and BBC and such are doing what they're doing. It's not because they are believing in any of this stuff. It's because they have been forced by blackmail, coercion, etc., into bending the knee.
It's not even that. It's like we saw it a bit with Chibnall. Like, as soon as the rumor, because they still haven't confirmed this, which I find hilarious. As soon as even just the rumor and it was papers saying Jodie's gone, suddenly Chibnall, it was open season. And suddenly, and this is what I just found so funny, just seeing, like, suddenly articles pop up talking about the writing, talking about the bad characterization, talking about how they didn't really do a lot with 13, they just hid behind the fact that it was a woman. Like, all these points that we've all made on the streams, that so many parts of the fandom have been making for years, and we got called everything underneath the sun.
Yeah, but don't forget that.
But now, because Chibnall's failed their precious female doctor, and there's other fandoms.
We've been telling them this for years.
It's just, we've been telling them for years, and suddenly all the criticisms we had, now they're valid, and that just shows because he lost his shield in Whittaker. It's suddenly these just popped into their heads, these thoughts, all of a sudden. And but it also showed the disingenuous nature of some of these critics.
I believe if you take the average Jodie fan one-to-one in private, you know, they will probably tell you pretty much the same sort of things you've been telling them. You know, they will admit certain things that they don't like and all the rest of it, but they won't say it publicly because peer pressure, right? We are faced with, I mean, you two are exemplary examples of how not to conform. And I absolutely am amazed by you two, because I think that you are incisive, critically minded, and it's quite thankfully a reprieve from witnessing this current generation that you share become the ultimate conformist. I've never seen so much conformity in my life. I believe that this generation are probably the most conformist generation I've seen, probably since, you know, since the Second World War, you know, where they had to be conformists to survive. And I think that this is taking the kind of schoolyard mentality online, where you know you've got to be on board with the message, otherwise you're out, you know, and that is social death. And it's sad, it's really sad. But if you take these people on their own, you know, they'll probably be more inclined to, you know, to open up, and that must be like a relief valve, you know. Like they can actually say what's on their mind, but most of them can't, and they all pile together, and they sort of, it's kind of like a fusion, you know, a fusion reaction where they force together for fear of falling out, you know. And if they fall out, they become isolated and dogpiled and attacked, you know, and cancelled. And that's a lot of pressure on young people's minds today. And it's no wonder that they tend to stick to the same script, because, you know, when you're young, obviously, you know, if you're excluded, that's horrible, you know. It can't, listen, I mean, I was always excluded at school. I was bullied to fuck, but I always stood by my beliefs and my principles, and that cost me, but, you know, that made me who I am. That's why I'm still a contrarian, and you know, will always stand up for what I believe and fight to the death for it. But I will also defend the right of people I disagree with to say what they want to say, as long as it's themselves saying it, you know, not this weird group thing.
ABC are interested in making a H7 reboot. Now I know that
Oh, he's about to have a heart attack now.
Now I know that you're the ultimate H7 fan, and you've convinced me on a couple of occasions, and you've tried to convince me, and I know this win, I know this win, I know this will win, I know this will win. Oh, to get back into the series, but like as I said to you before, it's kind of been spoiled for the both of
Well, it's
us,
bought
and
for
I
you and
think,
Noel, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah, and like to be honest, and to be honest with you, it's kind of put a bit of a not on this series, so
Well, I'll stop you there because I just want to emphasize this point. Okay, it's not how it ends that matters. It's the journey, and the characters and the stories are so good. And listen, the ending may have been spoiled for you, but I will say you don't actually see like because there were plans for a 5th series. All right, so it's very open-ended. You can't always take what you see as read, right? It's not certain. So, and then Big Finish moved the story forward from after the events of the final episode in the final season. So bear that in mind. So just want to leave that there, leave that seed, plant it there, and don't take what you perceive to be how it ends as de facto that's how it ends, full stop. So bear that in mind. Bear that in mind.
I mean, but back to my point, and like obviously, yeah, for the rumors of the people believe that some chips that idiot is supposed to be spearheading spearheading the project, so your childhood's about to
I will camp in the BBC car park for a year. I will block the entrance to the BBC with my body chained in every conceivable way to the entrance of the BBC to prevent it from happening. I will set fire to myself like a Buddhist monk in order to prevent it from happening if needs be. I will inundate their phone lines. I will pay every penny to get people to call them up 24/7, bombard them with emails, whatever it takes to make sure that doesn't happen.
So now it's what happens, folks. We all need to say like our condolences and goodbye to Lee, basically.
Yeah, if Chibnall touches Blake 7, it's over, right? I will go nuclear.
So do you prefer that to? So do you prefer that to? Or who then? Or do you prefer? Or do you prefer? H7?
For me, look, I mean, growing up, Doctor Who was my jam, right? Tom Baker was my first Doctor, was my favourite Doctor, is my favourite Doctor. And when I was growing up, Blake 7 used to come on when Doctor Who was off air. So it was the kind of replacement, like Merlin was for New Who, Or that bloody Atlantis thing was bloody awful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So it was on when the Doctor was on, and I started watching it when I was like 5 or something, 4 or 5. So I remembered it as a kid, and I used to have a little toy Liberator. I think it was a corgi, and it was something I watched as a kid, and thank God the internet exists and YouTube exists. And you know, a few years ago, I decided to find, you know, some Blake Seven again, because it just popped into my mind that it's something I used to watch, and I'd been without it for all those years. And then it found it all on YouTube, which is now gone, but it's on BritBox now. But I watched it all again, and it reignited my love for it. I wouldn't say I prefer it to Doctor Who. I mean, you know, nothing touches Tom Baker's Doctor for me. But Avon, the character Avon from Blake Seven, I think is one of my absolute favorite characters of all time. He's right up there with Tom Baker's Doctor. Just purely because he's so beautifully played by Paul Darrow and so brilliantly written. You know, he's so fucking funny. He's so po-faced, but you know, he's got this absolute deranged intellect. You know, it's spellbinding, right? Paul Darrow as Avon is just a joy to watch, and you'll never ever, it doesn't matter if they bring it back or what, they'll never ever capture that magic. Right? They don't write that shit like that anymore. They certainly don't have actors like that anymore, I don't think. You know, it's lightning in a bottle.
And I know obviously I know this you heard the stories that the Daleks and the Daleks are supposed to be included in Blake Seven because it was Eddie Nation who also wrote Blake Seven as well.
That's right.
Well, he had years to bring the Daleks over into Blake Seven, but I can never understood. They never really they carried on that they just went and always very reason
I think the reason was because they wanted Blake Seven to sort of stand on its own. Blake Seven wasn't much in the same vein as Doctor, because you know Doctor had a lot of bug-eyed monsters and things, and Blake Seven didn't. I mean, it had one or two, but I mean, it wasn't the standard fare in that sort of universe. And I think the Dalek crossover would have I mean, like, Blade 7 was a success in its own right. At its peak, it was getting like 10 million views a week. So it was, I mean, you're talking about at a time when Doctor was getting like 18 million, right? So it was still, you know, doing very well. It was still, you know, fairly successful in its own right. And I think as a brand, you know, I think he decided he didn't want to continue. I think they intended to bring the Daleks in, and maybe Tom Baker as well. I think that was the idea, to have that kind of crossover. At least the Daleks. I'm not entirely sure whether Tom was going to be, you know, cameoing in it. But yeah, it's a kind of half and half for me. Like, I think it was the right decision. But it would have been crazy great to see. But I think it was the right decision ultimately, because, you know, Blake 7, it didn't need that. And I think because you already got such a strong cast, I think if you had the Daleks in there as well, I think it would have kind of been a bit overpowering, you know. And I think that Blake 7, just stands on its own as it is. You know, I think it's a fantastic show that everyone needs to watch. You know, if you love your classic Doctor Who, go watch it.
I do generally enjoy classic sci-fi. So like shall we get back into, because I know that you've been saying that to me for ages, that I need to get back into. I mean,
well, I got Gary from Nerdrotic to watch it after forcing him for a year.
I'm not the only one that has told me to watch it because Bill, who's on it, has been encouraging me and has been encouraging me to get back in.
Yeah, we need to do a Blake Seven
As well.
stream. Charlotte, you need to watch it.
Oh,
Luke
just add
Bonnet,
it to my list right now.
Dan from the Space Book, he's into his Blake Seven because he does his podcast, the Teleport podcast, and I think we need to do a Blake Seven stream at some point. But you guys need to watch it. It's on BritBox. If you haven't got BritBox, and buy the DVD box set. It's out there. Just do it. You won't be sorry.
Here's my problem. It takes me forever to watch stuff. It's like I now have Netflix, which is good for lots of reasons, for showing stuff. But it literally means I've got like 4 seasons or something, and I'm like, and it takes me like I'm watching The Crown right now, and I'm literally like halfway through the 2nd season, and this is how slow I take to watch stuff.
Well, that will be your homework. Blake 7. Do it in a month. All day, all night.
And she's get all these and she's get all these Finnish recommendations that keep recommend. Then you take one. Won't you, Charlotte?
Yeah, but I have something called work and sleep.
Oh, forget all that stuff. Just Blake 7. That's all you need. That'll nourish you.
No, because I need to. I said to you, I need to get back into Big Finish, so I will. Like, I've got a list. Like, I'm watching Classic Who now. Like, I'm like.
Well, I'm not taking no for an answer.
That week, it's amazing you've got me watching that one a week, because Daniel will tell you he pestered me for how long, mate, to get into watching it.
For at least about 5 months.
Probably. But it wasn't until you guys were like, "Oh, come on, the Classic stream." It got me. He gave me basically the kick I needed.
Good.
I'm
stubborn sometimes. You need to like really motivate me.
I'm still in the process of waiting patiently on the John Pertwee season 8. Really, so Amazon UK, get your finger out your arse and post me my bill. Really, please, thank you.
You'll get it by the end of the year, knowing your luck.
Yeah.
He'll say to me, "I've ordered Big Finish," and I go, "Right, you'll get that in about 6 months." Lo and behold, how long does it take you sometimes to get your Big Finish?
Okay, because I prefer to I prefer to order the harder copy and the hard copies rather than the download for some reason, and I think because of the whole pandemic, I think that's the hard copy of it.
Yeah, well, everything is sort of in a fun process right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Alpha Omega. Nice to see you popping. And hello to anybody else we've missed, because we've had some new faces, which is lovely.
Hello, how are you doing? And it's to see you here. I've had a lot of new faces recently in the chat, which is good. Like I don't want to sound too cocky, but I'm in the process of I'm in the process of trying to chase down. I'm in the process of trying to get to 200 subscribers. So if I can get to 200 by the end of the year, by the end of the but by the end of the year, I'll be happy because that'll be me. Because that'll be me achieved my goal for the year. So yeah, but in terms of other sci-fi shows I enjoy, I'm into my Battlestar I'm into my Battlestar Galactica at them, and it which is he good the
The
but
70s one or the reboot?
The 2001 reboot.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I'll give the original was at some point, but yeah, I'm really enjoying that as well. And see, that's another recommendation I've tried to get Charlotte into the
Oh, it's
original.
fantastic! It's so good. It's so good. Listen,
Yeah.
I grew up with the original 70s, 80 version.
Yeah.
And I love that. So I've got the theme tune running in my head. But the reboot was so awe-inspiring. It was unlike anything else I'd ever seen, really. Really good science fiction,
amazing.
Great themes, great stories, great writing, great performances. My God. I mean, just the opening episode alone was just mind-blowing. So good.
I think it is for me. I was gonna say, I think it's because I'm somebody who's tried Trek, and I think sometimes if something's too hard sci-fi, I struggle.
The great thing about Battlestar Galactica is it's a very archetypal type of story, right? You've got the basic struggle of humanity, right? The surviving hodgepodge of a band of humans who are traversing, looking for a new home, and it's an age-old kind of story. It's the Wild West. It's the immigrants to America. It's the Jews escaping Egypt. It's got loads of and it's got quite a heavy religious metaphor in there as well that they put into the new series. I'll say new, I mean it's been out for a few years now, but I mean it's new series, and it's and this kind of crazy concept of these robots, these beings that this artificial intelligence that have a religious zeal, they're just going to wipe us out because they see us as as an existential threat, and it's so clever, it's so good, and a lot of people won't say anything about the ending, but a lot of people were divided over that. But I think Doomcock's surmisation, I think it is correct. I think it was a brilliant way to wrap it up, and I think that it will annoy a few people, but I think it was the right move, and it does harken back to the original series. So I don't think there's any problem with that, and I really can't praise it enough. Fantastic series, fantastic. It's very different. It's a totally different universe to the rather camp original show, which I absolutely love. I used to have the toys and the little capes. Yeah, it was great. And
to be honest, what you need to find need to find stuff like I says, oh yes, well, because that's that was one of the reasons why we started and the an audio that we and the fan audio that we use as well. We need to get back into that at some point as well because we've both been really enjoying and we've both been really enjoying other and a series on 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 here as well because it's given us oh, a hope I kiss it and so like yes so we're gonna get back into that as well have you got anything else you want to ask me?
Oh, I think we knew we'd had some fun times in another life, let's say. So,
Yeah.
and it's just been fun, and we sort of said, let's just have a giggle, let's just have fun this stream.
No, it's great to hang out with you guys. I mean, like it's nice to hang out with Daniel because he used to be such a regular on the TARDIS, and we miss you, man. And Charlotte, it's always fun being. You always seem to find angles and on things that people generally miss, and I love that about you. I think you always seem to find a unique point, and I think it's fantastic. I really enjoy sharing streams with you. So I mean, just keep doing what you're doing, guys.
Yeah, and I've kind of and I've kind of got a couple of more ideas that I want to run past them. Or either as well. So as well, in terms of other YouTube appearances, what have you got coming up to?
Oh God.
Big question for him.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have absolutely no idea. Look, I've still got work. I backed up and backlogged that it caused me no end of technical problems. I need to find out if it's still required because it's just been dogging me for a long time. I'm still working on my own Doctor Who titles sequence thing as well, which has been sort of on hold for a while. I need to sort that out. The single for Hill versus Babyface, I've just finished mastering that for release. I've uploaded it to it's now been uploaded to this site which will distribute it across all the platforms. So that's been done. I have to wait 5 to 7 days before they've reviewed it and given it the pass to be released. So hopefully that'll be released within the next 5 to 7 days. So as I said, that will be available for iTunes, Amazon, all the rest of it, across the board, Spotify, the lot, soon. So go and buy it. 75% of the proceeds will go to charity. That's after whatever they take from it, and all the rest of it. And I don't know. I mean, I've got. Oh God, I don't know. Look, I didn't plan on doing that song. It just happened. It just fell in my lap, really. From the gods. I don't know, the weirdo gods that dictate what pops into my brain and gets realized.
And I'm sure. And I'm sure that you'll be on the. And I'm sure that you'll be on the Classic Who panel with obviously if obviously using co-hosted as well. And Charlotte, I have to actually, and Charlotte, I have to actually to say, like, I've really enjoyed, and I've really enjoyed hearing you catch up on classic because you because this is because this is because this is um ourselves essentially opinion and opinion into the classic series, and you're coming at it from a fresh perspective. So it's been really enjoyable hearing and your taking things because because oh oh wake up on a classic episode, you can understand where I'm coming from
Yeah.
for it. And you always, and they can always, and you can always come up with something that I haven't even thought of yet. And it's the same, and it's the same, and it's the same for the guys that are on the classic panel. Imagine. So it's been a pleasure listening to you on the classic panel.
I love one of my guilty YouTube pleasures is reaction videos. I don't know what it is about it. I'm addicted to them. I love watching them. Because it's always a joy to see people react to things that you know for the first time, that you remember the first time you enjoyed something, and it's kind of like really gratifying, and you kind of relive that through proxy, you know, via proxy. And when Charlotte is watching Classic Who, I mean, I know that she kind of cheats because she watches it beforehand.
Because I can't do it any other way.
No, listen, I understand. Look, I tend to make the mistake of just watching it, you know, for the first time since a long time, and trying to pay attention when everyone's talking. And I really should do the same thing because, you know, I mean, yes, I've seen them multiple times already, but yeah, it's kind of like when you just kind of watch it for the first time in a long time, you just think, oh, what happened in this story again? What's my mark? You know. Yeah, I can understand that.
So before we finish up, guys, is there any channels that you want to shout out that you're appearing on, or any YouTube channels that you would like to that you would like everybody to launch out, because as as I, um as I said, that it's kind of become a passion for me to help um to help other small or channels get the recognition that they deserve as well. So if you guys got any channels or any appearances in any channels that you would like to out before we finish up?
Yeah, I can put the link in the private chat if you want to repost them, Daniel. There's let me just put this in here.
What's still showing off right now?
There's Mr. Brown's channel. There's that one. If you want to repost that for me, that would be superb. And also, bear with. I've got to find it. Let me just find it. Obviously, check out and subscribe to the TARDIS Zone, Noel's channel, because you'll find me there more often than not. Also, he's trying to get up his second channel, The Irish Geek. So obviously subscribe to that. We want to get that monetized. I'll be appearing on there with Cheryl at some point, Noel's wife, discussing movies or something. And also, Oh, crikey. Hold on a minute. I'm trying to get this right. Copy, paste. Cockney Spock's channel. On there, fair few. He's a riot.
Yeah, I've actually been enjoying Cockney Spock's channel myself, because I usually show up in the chat. It's always there's a good laughing there, other than stitches or laughing.
Yeah, well, after the stream, I'll be after the stream, I'll be on Mr. Brown's stream, which is starting in a couple of minutes. So I'll be joining them when we wrap up here. So if people want to come and continue our bizarre kind of conversations, it will go on Mr. Brown's channel. It should be in the chat there.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly add. Yeah, when my tech likes me, I can appear on Dan's streams when it wants to work, is the rule it seems to be with the Facebook right now. I honestly think it's because, God love Dan, he usually has a lot of people on the stream and mine just can't cope with that right now. So when I can, I appear on the Facebook when tech, like I said, likes me.
As is always the case.
Yeah.
Well, it's been good today. It's been behaving.
I think that's because it's less people. Like I said, I don't know if that's what it is.
So in terms of myself, I don't really know what my next stream is, but thanks very much to both yourself and to both yourself and to others we shall as well, because because as I said yeah, you both have some fantastic insights, and like I've been wanting to get you on for ages, so I'm happy that I finally got my act together and get you on, because I can most disorganized person on the
me neither. Don't worry.
Why do you think he has me around?
Kick his ass.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been an most excellent conversation. I think it's a brilliant little title for your stream. You guys are brilliant. I think you deserve to have many more subscriptions, and I hope that you do. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to Daniel and Charlotte here. They do a fantastic job, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I love you both, and I think that you're doing great work. And I look forward to seeing and hearing more from you.
And thanks very much for in the chat. Those two channels have been posted, and check out Charlotte's appearances on obviously Dan Facebook's channel. Not too sure what my next will be, or who it will be with, or when it'll be, but and if I find out what I'm in the humour to do, you guys will be the first to know on my Facebook groups and on my Twitter account, and obviously we check your subscriber because sometimes I just decide randomly to do a stream, but obviously my streams shall have already been prearranged behind the scenes, so you never know. So you never know when so you never know when a stream's only pop up for myself. But that's the kind of that I like to, and that I would like to, and that I would like to use. And so over here, and so like, and so like now subscribe and turn on the bell to be notified for whenever it is I do stream. Like here, guys, and thanks to everybody in the chat because as I said, I do this and I do these streams for obviously everybody in the chat and everybody that's kind enough to support me because right now and because right now the only right now we all need a bit of company and something to look forward to. So stay safe and take care and enjoy the rest of whatever you get up to this.
And be excellent to one another.
And this, yeah, and be excellent and be kind as the greatest of and s and but thanks but thanks to my but thanks to the panel and I hope to get you back on soon. And I
Anytime.
hope to get you back on soon. Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. Look, it's